time. Well, good morning. Good morning, good morning, and welcome back to CityLine. We are in our final fabulous segment, and I couldn't be more tickled pink by my next guest because, that was a lesbian joke, you gotta know that, because she is the new HR manager for the Office of Equity and Human Rights for the City of Tacoma. Please join me in welcoming Nancy Shattuck. Hello, my dear. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I am well, and it is so great to have you on the comfy couch because, number one, you are an amazing individual. Number two, you have been the human rights liaison for the City of Tacoma for the past year and a half. And our beautiful Andrita was snatched away from us. She's now in Olympia, and you stepped into her position, but officially, it happened last week.
Yes, it did. Well, Monday. Officially, Monday, July 3rd was my first day as the Human Rights Manager for the City of Tacoma.
Welcome,
Thank you.
And I have to say, in all transparency, because that's what journalism is about, and that's what human rights is about, I am the Human Rights Chair for the Human Rights Commission for the City of Tacoma, so I get to spend a lot of time with you.
We do.
But I also expect a lot from you, and you deliver like no one's business, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
So let's talk about what is the Office of Equity and Human Rights? People are going to go, what? What is that?
It's an amazing office for the City of Tacoma. So we were formed back in 2014. And we have two sides. So we have our equity side, which is inward facing, and it's there to ensure that our city departments are delivering services equitably, that we're hiring equitably. And you know, when we think of equity, it's the idea that everyone is represented, everyone is given opportunities, and sometimes that looks different for different people.
Yes.
And that's okay. And so that's the idea, is that the city is really intentional about offering that type of service. And then I'm on the human rights side, and we are more the outward facing side. And so we're there for the community of Tacoma to ensure that all residents are treated with the human rights and civil rights that they deserve, and specifically in fair housing and employment discrimination, and also in public accommodations.
You have said it.
It's amazing.
That is it. And that is the reason why you are the cherry on the pride icing today. Because you, as you said so beautifully, you are outward facing. So those people who are questioning or not receiving or are seeing their civil and human rights threatened, you are the woman who puts your eyes on that and says, we can help you.
Absolutely.
So before we get into exactly what you do for Tacoma, I want to talk about a definition that your director, Director Lisa Woods, brought to my attention, but you speak it proficiently. And that is, tell us, what are our civil rights, first off? What are our civil rights?
So we in the United States have basic civil rights, specifically around, like, we have the right against being discriminated against based on any of the protected classes. And so we have our federally protected classes, and then in the state of Washington we have additional, and then in Tacoma, so special, we have additional rights. And so it's something, you know, I don't know if the residents of Tacoma recognize that we do have additional protections just by living and working in this city. And it's something that, you know, our government has put in place to ensure that folks are treated fairly and have fair access. And, you know, we have right to a fair trial, like there's so many different civil rights that we have, but they're based on the fact that we live and work in the United States.
Yes. So those are our civil rights, and it's amazing that we here in Tacoma have the backing of our mayor, our city manager, our elected officials. When we talk about human rights, that is not a new thing to their vocabulary. So you just gave us what civil rights are. Now, what would Director Woods say that human rights are?
So human rights, when we think about those, it's based on the fact that you were born as a human.
There we go.
Right? So you have the right to happiness.
Yes.
You have the right to safety.
Yes.
You have the right to
shelter.
Shelter.
Food.
all these things. That's just your basic human rights. And it's something that no matter where you live in the world, you have basic human rights. And it's something, you can look on, for example, the United Nations website and just see, this Declaration of Human Rights. And it's an amazing list of things that we all just being, and everyone, whether you like it or not, has those human rights.
That's right. That is, you have said it all. And I always view human rights as more of a complete inclusive list of all of our rights, because they go beyond civil rights. And we are still fighting for civil rights and human rights. So so this is an amazing resource that our city has. It was led by our mayor when she asked us to be a compassionate city and an anti-racist city.
Absolutely.
So when we investigate discrimination, tell us what charges of discrimination would look like. Like, just give us an example, because your legal background also is very vast and very brilliant.
So when we have folks in the community contact us if they believe they've been discriminated against, our office is really tasked with being that impartial investigator to see what is the evidence. And it's not easy, and it's something as a complainant in either a fair housing or an employment case, it really is their responsibility to provide evidence.
To prove it.
To show that, like, yes, this happened, and yes, it's based on a protected class. And that's really the important thing, is that sometimes there's just bad managers, whether that be in housing or in employment. And sometimes people are doing things that aren't right, but it may not rise to the level of discrimination. And so that's really what our office looks at, is like, was there some kind of impact that was wrong or disparate or, just bad, right, for whoever that person is who wants to make the complaint. And then we have to link that to someone's protected class. And so, for example, in the city of Tacoma, in fair housing, right now we have an additional protected class of source of income.
Yes.
And so folks, if they are receiving any kind of benefit that's legal, they are allowed to, any housing provider needs to accept them. They must accept them based on our Tacoma Municipal Code, which is not the case in other parts of the country. Like, these are things that we really are special in Tacoma, and that we have these additional protected classes. And like, with it being Pride Month, like, knowing we have gender identity as one of our protected classes in the city of Tacoma. And like, not every city has that.
So what does that mean for people who need to be protected because of their gender?
So for example, if you present as someone who, someone might think you're not presenting as what your perceived gender should be. And let's say that apartment manager then says, oh, we don't rent to people like you. That's illegal. They're not allowed to do that. And the trouble is that a lot of people will just accept that, and they just think, or I don't want to live there anyways.
Oh, one less person I have to worry about.
Yeah, and I would just say to the community, like, please reach out to us. Please, you can call 311. And you'll get directed straight to our department. Make the complaint, talk to us. Because we need to know when this stuff is happening in the community, because we know it's happening.
It is happening, yes.
Right. But if people don't report and don't tell us that it's happening, there's really no way that we can intervene.
Yeah, and then it starts, and then it doesn't go away, it just builds momentum.
Absolutely.
To the point where we have to look at it, because it's breaking hearts and it's breaking systems.
Absolutely.
And then we have a totally different problem on our hands when it comes to human rights, depression, suicide,
for sure.
all of that.
And the thing with discrimination is that, first off, it's just wrong.
It is.
People should not be discriminated against. And I think about, part of what our department does is looking at educating the community, coming on here with you and talking about this, because really what we want to do is prevent the harm. We want folks to know that, like, this isn't okay, that there are laws that protect people, and that our housing providers and our employers should be doing the right thing.
Yes.
And they should be treating people well.
Right.
And so wouldn't it be great if I could work myself out of a job?
Well, I was going to ask you. It's like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Out of a job, hopefully.
That would be amazing, right? Because people shouldn't be harmed.
Well, we have been dealing with this since the beginning of time.
Absolutely.
And I turned to my wife the other day and I said, when are we going to get it through our heads that hate doesn't work?
No.
It just doesn't work for any of us. Okay, so last minute and a half here. So when we talk about educating the community, what's next for the Office of Equity and Human Rights in their efforts to serve the LGBTQIA community?
Well, we've heard about Pride,
yeah.
right? So excited for Saturday. So
yes.
we will have a booth at Pride and be there available offering resources and information.
You and I both will be there.
Yes, we will be there together. And then also, it's been great being back in the green room with all the folks on the comfy couch today, because lots of connections were made, and make some plans are in the works to do some outreach and engagement, really, and looking at how to help the communities know we're there.
Right.
And trust us.
Right. And the connection, because when I think about Matthew and Matthew's 18 to 24-year-olds who are being discriminated at work, Matthew now knows Nancy Shattuck and has her business card.
Absolutely.
And he can say, let me phone a friend, find out what your next steps could be. And if she would like, can we have you two sit down over a cup of tea and have a conversation? That's how we educate our community.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's the thing. We all just need to know what our rights are and how to enforce them.
Exactly.
And then for those of us that have power,
use it.
And do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Nancy, I'm going to have you on this couch every quarter to talk about the state of human rights in Tacoma.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Thank you and your team and everybody in your office for what they do every single day.
Thank you. No, we thank you as well.
Well, my pleasure. That wraps up another great segment of CityLine. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to be in your home. You know, we've given you some really great things to think about in this past hour that will last you beyond the month of Pride. So please go out there, be a part of the tapestry, and above all, pay it forward. And when you come back, as always, we'll be waiting for you right here at CityLine. Happy Pride.